Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm Janet McMorty, and I am your host, and I was and still am a medical doctor trying to simultaneously pursue acting during a global pandemic. Why not? My guest this week is Jessica Myrie. Jessica is a phenomenal actress who I met on my very first booking as an actor. We go into this a lot in this episode, but she taught me, honestly, literally everything that I know about the film industry that day when we were on set. Her career in the last year that I've known her has just gone apshoo. She is just skyrocketing up. She's incredible. There were massive technical issues with especially the audio in this episode, as you'll see. It might be kind of a fun game to play to see when I filmed these episodes and in what order, because you can definitely see improvements in me figuring out the technology. This was one of the earlier episodes that I recorded, so apologies in advance. I try to do as much tinkering and editing with the audio as possible, but it's not the greatest. I'm so sorry, and I'm so sorry, Jessica. You rock. Anyways, the story is still there. Jessica's amazing. I hope you enjoy this episode. Please enjoy Jessica Myrie. So good to see you.
I know, it's so good to see you. I feel like it's been so long, but I mean, it's been like a little bit under a year since we first met.
Is that it? It feels like way longer.
I think it was March.
Yeah.
Or April.
Yeah.
It was a really good job. One of the best I did.
Yeah. It was, I think I told you, it was my very first booking. My first booking ever. Yeah. Was that Amazon commercial.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Talk about imposter syndrome. Holy jeez.
You did awesome. And I wouldn't have even thought, but you've done stunts work before too.
I'd done a little bit of stuff and I'd done some background, but this was my first, like I just gotten my first agent, and this was, I'd had a couple other self-tapes, but this was the one, and I was like, holy crow. And then I remember showing up and parking on that road, and the whole house was all set up and all these big trailers and stuff. I'm like, this is just for me and Jess and that cute little kid. This is crazy. Yeah, it was so much fun.
A good time. What's going on with that? I've only seen it on the social media. Was it on TV or?
Every so often I try and check the, iSpot TV or whatever, the website that will tell you if a commercial's been on TV. And every time I remember it, I try and check to see, but I haven't seen it at all, which blows my mind because there was a lot of cool stuff in that. They did a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Special effects.
Yeah.
They invested a lot of money in this.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know for maybe just social media, but I guess you do get a lot of views on Instagram. Maybe there were web ads that we didn't see because it was in the US, because it was
in the US.
.com. Yeah. It was Amazon.com, not .ca. So maybe that's why. But
I guess so.
I was surprised that it wasn't anywhere else. Or maybe it was. We just didn't see it.
We'll keep an eye out for it. I think you never know. They may start being desperate for more commercials and put us on the air.
It was a pretty cool commercial. They need to.
It was a really cool commercial. It was really cool. And you and I just got to hang out in the basement of that house for an entire day and chat. And you basically told me everything there is to know about the entertainment industry.
Did I sometimes I do talk a lot, but
and that's not what I meant. It was so helpful. I remember you talking to me about, and I want to get into this so much, about breath, because you've done a lot of work with that, breath and mindset. And mindset being a big thing for you as well too. Yes. And then that was kind of a realization for me that I was naively jumping into this industry, and there was so much more to it. I mean, you don't have to put the mindset stuff into it if you don't want to, but it just is so much better and more meaningful if you can. Yeah.
Yes. And I think I was doing that job during the time I started with my acting coach, and she really drilled it into me to understand how important mindset was. I don't think I understood how important it was until I started with her and I met her. She's amazing. Nahani Johnson. that's the first thing that we covered, like first and foremost. And I've done acting classes before, like scene study. And I understand it's about the scenes, but the foundation is mindset with this business, because if you don't have the right mindset going into stuff, it's like, or going into the work, it's just not going to work for you. And maybe, you might not consider doing the mindset, and it just like, it's something that you just automatically do. And just like thinking, like, just like kind of thinking back to sometimes when I've done auditions and I've just automatically maybe, had the confidence doing it. Like our audition, for instance, for Amazon. I remember I did that. I woke up first thing in the morning and it was like due right away. And I just kind of said, you know what, I have to be confident and do this and get it in. And I got it in. And it was just, and then I think around that time, like I was really just focused on, my self-care and breathing. If I was nervous, there was a lot of auditions that I was doing around that time. And if I wasn't really focused on how like my mindset is and thinking of like what I need to do, like to prep and be ready for these auditions, I probably wouldn't have got that booking. I think when I got booked for that, I was doing an audition and I said, okay, great. And then on to the next, because that's another thing. If you get booked for something, you always like, yes, or like celebrate it, but you have to keep going, because that's the thing with this business. Like one booking isn't going to hold you forever unless it's a reoccurring role, and you got to just keep going. It's mindset is really key. I think I've battled that recently just with everything that's been going on, but I always come back to it. And like, I'm big on, affirmations and like meditation and self-care. And I think sometimes we might drift off away from it, but just really just remembering how important it is crucial. And like, I mean, and one thing I always say is like, you can always start over. So if, you're like, if you're not actually doing it, you can always like start tomorrow, it's just, the thing is understanding how important it is. Mindset really helped me in this business. I think I started to book more once I had a more clear, focused, perspective on how to do things. Mm-hmm. That's my tangent on mindset.
Yeah. Were you always that type of person to be, focused on meditation and self-care, or has that been new to you since starting acting?
It's been something that I've done, but it wasn't consistent until last year. I'll say that. I always knew, because when you know something's important and then you're not actually being consistent with it.
Oh yeah.
I did. Yeah. And I think the motivation was understanding if I don't do this, it's like, if I do this, it's going to help me. And if I don't do it, then it could be my downfall. And, it'll also help you in all walks of life, like with meditation, it'll help you to calm down, breathing. If you're in a stressful situation, remembering to breathe, thinking positively. One thing I've always, I think, had, or I've always done is always thinking of the positive in life and what can come from something maybe negative. And that's always kept me sane. So it's, like even right now, like things are kind of slow, but it's now giving me the opportunity to take a step back and reflect on what I need to do so I can become better and be prepared. Because one thing I've realized, if you're not prepared and opportunity comes, you're really going to screw yourself over. And it always comes when you don't know it. So it's just also preparation and being ready for anything that can possibly happen. Because you might not be working for a while and then all of a sudden you get a big booking and then you're not prepared for it. And then,
It's like an athlete, right? You have to be constantly training, and whatever that looks like for you in order to be ready. Like you have to have like a baseline level of fitness, I think, to be able to, otherwise exactly what you said, a big thing comes along and you're overwhelmed and unprepared, and it shows. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So tell me about your journey into acting. What brought you into this crazy business?
I've always wanted to act. Like, I thought, okay, when I initially got into this business, seriously, was 2018. I was going through a very hard time. I needed I needed a supplementary income because I was working a few jobs to get by, and I wanted to find a way that I could make money and control my schedule. So that's when I started to find jobs on Mandy. I started with Mandy, but before that all happened, I was working a job that I really didn't like, and I sat down one day and I said, you know what? I don't like what I'm doing. I'm not happy right now. I was going to school and I had to take some time off, and I was like, okay, I need to really figure out what I want to do with my life so I'm actually happy and not just trying to make money. And I thought about it and I'm like, what do I want to do? And if I could do anything and I had no limitations, what would it be? And as soon as I said that to myself, I had this vision of when I was 6 and I did this talent show in elementary. I think it was like grade 3, I think. And we did Cinderella. And I really wanted to be Cinderella, but they didn't choose me as Cinderella. So I was one of the evil stepsisters. And
way more fun.
Well, it was because I just remember dressing up, feeling so excited in that dress. And then I remember when my part came that I had to perform, I just blew it away. Like I said, you know what? I'm taking this over. And I remember that. And it stuck with me. I mean, after all these years and thinking about what would make me happy and thinking about that moment, it just dawned on me, acting. And I just wrote it down, and it was acting. And it was funny enough, the same teacher I had wanted me to be, she asked me to be Sandy a couple years later after that in another talent show. So she's seen something in me that I didn't see in me. But eventually I think I drifted away from that, and I started to do track and field in school. And, I think I just lost sight of what I loved doing. I remember once actually, I went to a doctor. It was like my mom's doctor, and he would always ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? And and I was like, oh, I want to be an actress. And he was like, why would you want to be don't you want to be like a doctor or a lawyer? And I remember that. And like you're just crushing a little girl's dreams. So, it's like when people tell you what you can't do because, they can't do it. I think I never really had growing up the encouragement of pursuing what I maybe was destined to do from that age. But anyway, going back to now, thinking about what I wanted to do, and it dawned on me, I just said, okay, I'm going to start acting. And then that's when I started applying to jobs on Mandy. And then I got my first booking with Budweiser for a social media ad campaign with Mandy. And I just things just kind of slowly took off from there. I was just I constantly kept applying. I think at one point I stopped applying to jobs, but then after I realized if I don't apply to jobs, I'm not going to get any bookings and I'm not going to be able to do what I want to do, because I started to I created a plan for myself too. I said, okay, I had no idea about how to get into acting, but then I started looking up other actors and what their experiences were. And I realized if I was going to act, I have to get experience. I have to get an agent. I have to also do pictures. At the time I had no pictures. I used some pictures from 5 years old to post to use for Mandy, and it worked. And I ended up getting bookings with it. But I think eventually I just started getting more bookings, and I had a friend of mine that referred me to an agent. And that's when I eventually got my headshots, and things just started to pick up. But prior to my agent, I was being I was submitting all the time, pretty much. I was like self-submitting and representing myself. And it was consistent. And that's when I also knew that I needed to pursue an agent, because I also started getting agents reaching out to me. And I was like, okay, something's happening here. I really didn't even know like what was happening too, because there would be times that I would get submissions on Mandy, and they would ask me for self-tapes. And I had a full-time job at the time. And I'm like, I don't know what they're asking me for. Like, I don't have time for this. So it was just a lot of trial and error. But I think once I was, the key thing is I was being consistent. I was getting work, and I was just really going after what I wanted. And that's when, things just aligned with me getting my agent through a friend of mine that referred me. And since then, it's just been history, like it's just, as I've been just really navigating this business and understanding what I need to do, which, I'm still learning, but I think it's just having that mentality to be a go-getter and do what I need to in order to make it in this business.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think that mentality came from? Did it come from the full-time job, like the career you had before? Or have you always been a go-getter?
I've always been a go-getter. Growing up, it wasn't easy for like my family financially. So I've had to work since I was 12 years old. So I've always had the mentality, look, I gotta look after myself if I want the things that I want. And, that I think is just working different jobs. I've worked a lot of different jobs, and I think that's also helped me with my experience in acting. I've done sales. Like, I actually do have a sales background, a marketing and advertising background as well. That's what I actually went to school for. And I think understanding certain things when it comes to those industries really has helped me with acting, especially auditions, especially when you do sales. And, I've been the type of salesperson which, like, I really push myself. And, I've done telemarketing. I've done door-to-door sales. I've done you name it. I've done a lot of different sales jobs. So I think when I started doing auditions, and I understand, like, people would say, oh, you're doing all these auditions and you don't get it. I've heard a lot of no's prior to this business. So I'm just like, this is a piece of cake. When people are like, yes, oh, it's so difficult. I've had to make 100 calls in one day and hear 100 no's, and going to someone's door and asking them to buy something is a very difficult task. So acting is not easy, but having to hear no's for me is not as difficult, because I know that there's going to be a yes. If you keep going, and especially, like, the advantage we have is if you know how to, be prepared, do your training, just do what you need to do, you're eventually going to hear a yes. It's just, it might not hear it tomorrow. It might take some time. But one thing an acting coach told me when I was training was, you have to be in this business for the long haul. I think I had said this to you last year. It's like, if you're not willing to say, I'm going to do this for the next 20 years, or I'm going to do it until, something happens, it's not going to work, because, like, you have to be willing to say, I'm in this for the long haul. And I think it's for many other things, like, winners never quit. If you're going to quit, then you're not going to win. And I don't care how many no's I hear. I'm going to keep going and going until I hear a yes. And I know I will hear a yes, because you have to have that confidence. If you don't have confidence in yourself, that's another thing that also will get you booked, is just confidence. And, I really try to, like, any chance I get getting any kind of information that I can learn from. And that's another thing that I think stems from my sales background, because I've actually done lead generation, and I remember I was doing it for a real estate office at one point, and we had to really do a lot of training, and I would work with the team, and just having that mentality of like training has also been something that's stemmed from previous professions that I've done. So I think a lot of the jobs that I've worked in the past have really helped me to maybe propel my career with acting a little further, even with the amount of time that I've been doing it. Because I do still think I'm fairly new, because like with this business, I think unless you've been doing it 5+ or maybe 10+ years, you're a newbie, because it really does take time to actually establish yourself if you want to get to an elite level with this.
Yeah. And I think I think we as human beings really do love instant gratification. I think especially here, in our kind of privileged country where we do get things instantaneously, we can. And if you're not used to having to build a good solid foundation of not only your own talent, but your people and support system around you, if you don't get things instantaneously, you go, oh, well, guess I can't do that. Move on to the next thing. And so I think the persistence and perseverance is so important. And also something that triggered in my brain that you said earlier about if like money was no object, if money wasn't the thing to be thinking about, what would you want to do? Right? Because if you're in this industry for the money, like there's no point, like go work at Starbucks, right? You get health benefits there. How did you make that switch, from, working needs to give me financial gains into working needs to give me joy and passion and love?
So you mean like, do you mean like getting into this business for the financial part of it?
Yeah, well, you had mentioned, especially coming from a childhood where money was valued because you were working since you were 12 and helping support family and stuff like that, to shift, you could go for the next 50, 60 years and make good money, and that would be seen as value. But if you're not enjoying it, well, like, what's the point? But then shifting into acting where you can't really be focused on the money because it's so unpredictable, but it can be so joyful and fulfilling. Am I making sense, Jessica?
I think I know what you mean. I think I knew that acting made me happy.
Yeah.
I think it's just going back to that little girl in me that would get excited if I seen someone on TV that looked like me. Because, like growing up back then, you wouldn't see that many. But like, I remember just watching like even like old Y&R and with my mom, and they'd have like, a few, very few BIPOC actors. And like, I remember watching, I forgot her name, but she's on there and like, she's Canadian too. And just seeing her, and, just getting back to that time when I was on stage and I felt that rush and all the people there. I think it's just, I knew I could do that without any monetary gain. And one thing I do know is if you're going to if you want to do something, that you want to do something if you're willing to do it without any monetary gain. And I knew that I would be willing to do acting without that. It was a plus that I was being paid for the work that I was doing, but it was really on a part-time basis when I started. And I think I was fortunate to do the jobs that I did. But to be honest with you, when I first started, I didn't really consider myself an actor. It was hard for me to say I was an actor. Maybe like I started saying I was an actor maybe a few months after getting an agent. But when I was doing like brand modeling and commercials, I didn't really consider that acting, to be honest. I don't like, I realized that acting is not necessarily commercials. There is some acting there, but the real acting is coming from when you're doing like theater work or when you're doing, a film or a series and, like you're actually producing a full out production that's going to require you to really like become the role. I think I had a better appreciation or respect for actors when I started to realize that. And there was a point in time I realized that I needed to get serious, and I started doing like shorts for basically little to nothing. And, if I was willing to do that, I knew that the money was an issue. And, the money will come. And that's one thing I've heard from a lot of entrepreneurs and successful people. They don't look for the money, because when you're looking for the money, you're not focused on the right. It's like you don't have the right intentions if it's just the money that you're looking at. Don't get me wrong. There are some professions where you can just look at the money, but this, like, acting is being an artist. And as an artist, a true artist is not looking at the money. And these are the most amazing ones. The money will come. Yeah. With this, like, I'm willing to do this type of work for little to nothing, because I love creating art. And when I first started doing shorts, like, one of my first shorts, I basically was paid just for transportation costs, pretty much. And I just wanted to gain experience because I had none. And in order for me to gain the experience, I had to put myself out there and do what I could to get the experience that I needed. Like I also have that mentality with my previous, like my previous career choices that I've had to intern. Like there was one point in time, actually, I was, when I first went to college, I had started in journalism, actually. And I had interned at a few different places. And I realized, like, if I wanted to pursue it, I had to intern. So, it's just like with acting, I always tell people, if you want to get experience, you're going to most likely have to work for free for a bit, and now, I've done my time. I can't work for free. Yeah. So and I can't work for free anymore.
Yep. Sorry. Yeah.
So, it's, and that's where it comes from. The money will come. We did what we needed to do to get to where we are now. And I've had to turn down a few opportunities that, necessarily wouldn't pay or would maybe be a good opportunity. But, now that I am in the union of AXA, I'm not able to do that. And, it in a way, it's nice to know that people want to work with me, because a lot of times people have reached out to me because of the prior work that I've done in the past with them. Like just recently I had someone who, AD, reach out to me from a previous short that I did that wanted to work with me now, that it wasn't a paid opportunity, but I still would do it because it could add to my reel. And you never know where that experience could lead. Because I actually did a short film, and I had the director of a feature film that I have coming out soon that had watched that short film, and they booked me for the feature, but the director, he's seen the short film that I did prior, and that's how, like, we ended up working together, because they had reached out to me, but I also had reached out to them at the same time because someone had sent me the casting. But it's just, it's just being persistent, working and doing the work. And that's, you will see the rewards if you do the work. And that's one thing my coach always says, you have to do the work, and, and then it happens. That's how it works.
Yeah. Has there been anything that surprised you about the entertainment industry in what are we at now? You're 4 years in it?
I would say about 3-4 years. It doesn't even seem like that long.
Well, pandemic time. What is it? Yeah. My God.
Yeah, I would say, maybe about 3 years. Cause like I said, I don't really consider when I first started that I was acting, but I guess I was somewhat in the industry. What surprised me, I think, how hard acting can be. How much go into it. Yes. I think some people just think, I can be an actor. when you see someone on screen and you can't tell that they're acting, you know they're an amazing an actor. And that just doesn't happen. And I think that's what surprised me when I started training and understanding how much work goes into developing a character. I can tell a good actor from a bad actor now. And like I said, I have such a huge respect for actors, especially theater students. Like I wish, I had the opportunity to be a theater student, but, coming into this industry, I still do training, but I think it really does help when you have that foundation. Acting isn't easy. It kind of ticks me off a little bit when people are like, oh, I want to be an actor. And they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. They just like the fact that they want to be an actor for the wrong reasons. And I think if you're going to do this business, you have to do it for the love of it. And, I'm not saying everyone has to do that, but I think it's just, that's what makes a good actor. Someone who's like, I want to do this, not just for the fame or the money. I want to do this because I love doing it. And, I just think it's just something you have to do for the right reasons at the end of the day. And it will shine through. Like, I'm thinking of Leonardo DiCaprio right now. Like, he's one of my favorite actors. Love him. And I love what he's doing right now with his platform. He's an environmentalist now. I like, for him, I think he's been doing it since he was a kid, and it kind of reminds me of myself if I had maybe started when I was a kid, but he loves this because I think it was the Academy Awards. Like he would go every year, even though he never won, but he would go every year. And he wasn't doing performances for an award. He was doing it because he loved it. You can just genuinely tell he loves what he's doing.
It's so true.
Yeah. And I love, I think the last movie he did, what's it called on Netflix?
It's like Long Way Up or something Up.
I know the one.
Yeah,
I think it's called Up.
With Jennifer Lawrence and Meryl.
Genius. It's genius because it's basically telling the story of what really is going on in society, but in a comedic way. And I love how he was able to just kind of cross over what he's currently doing as an environmentalist into the film. And just having it shines through when you love what you do. Like even Viola Davis, I love her. And, I've seen some interviews of her talking about why she like her acting and why she does what she does. I just love when someone has a respect for what they do and they love it, even Denzel Washington. I love him too. And, him going back to the theater and doing I actually still need to watch it, the Macbeth movie. And he's taking it back to the grassroots, So it's just just doing it for the right reasons. And I think a lot of people don't understand, most of these actors, they didn't just get big overnight. They did a lot of work to where they are now. And a lot of times when I do see people starting breaking out into the industry, they've been in this for at least a decade or plus.
Yeah, they've built the foundation.
I forgot what the question was.
No, it was, you answered it beautifully. It was, does anything surprise you? Right. And I think, but I think it's true. I think that's why there is such a great atrophy rate. Why so many people, say, yeah, I want to be an actor. Sounds great. But what they really want is to be famous or to make tons of money or run slow motion in a Marvel movie or something like that. But as soon as you start getting into the industry and start moving up a little bit, my eyes were just blown wide open as to how hard this is. And that, like you were saying, that gave me so much respect for the people who've been in this and doing this hustle for so long and being self-employed artists, entrepreneurs, trying to market yourself and you are the product and deal with rejection and deal with all of this stuff. It is not a normal thing that we've been taught how to do. And yeah. Do you have any advice for someone who is wanting to start into this industry who didn't go to theater school like you did?
I would say if you really want to do well in this business and not struggle as much, training. If you can train prior to pursuing an agent, that would be awesome. Like, there are people who have a natural talent, don't get me wrong, but just doing some kind of training is going to help you substantially and set you ahead of the game. Like I said, I do my research. A lot of times when I see actors from here and they're in leading roles, or they're in the, they're breaking out in the US and doing their thing, I go to their IMDb. I look, okay, when was their first credit? Okay, and if I could find some more information on them, what's their background, what's their history? I'll tell you this. Majority of the time, they've been in the game for at least maybe 5, 7, 10 years. And a lot of times they have a theater background, drama school, or some sort of training. And a lot of times when there are people who maybe haven't been doing it for at least 10 years, maybe 5 less, they have their theater background. So what does that tell you? Training helps you substantially because you understand what you're doing. You're not going or running around like a chicken with their head cut off. You understand the industry. When I started to train, now when I think about it, I started to book more. So it's just so key and essential. Do your research, take your time to find the right representation. It's not a race. It's a marathon. If you really want to do this without trial and error, making mistakes, just take your time. Maybe even reaching out to, someone that you can talk to that's in the industry that you can trust. That's another reason why I created the platform with 2 other partners of mine, Black Actors Canada, because my partner and I were on a workshop during 2020. And it was like a workshop for BIPOC. And a lot of they asked them like about like BIPOC actors or Black actors that are from Canada, and no one could really mention any, or like no one really knew of any. And it felt like a disconnect within that community. And I also thought about when I first started and I had no idea what I was doing. And I didn't have anyone to reach out to. I didn't know anyone in the industry, really. So we decided to create that, and we didn't know what we were doing either. But now, we're starting to build and network with other organizations, and it's coming together really well. And if you can find like some kind of community that you can learn from, I think that's the best advice I can give. Just doing your research, because even down to your headshots, you need to know what you're doing, because you want to get with the right photographer. I was fortunate; I got referred to a really good photographer. But one thing that I learned when I was training is when you do your headshots, you should think about the roles that you want to get booked for. If you're just going in and doing your headshots, it could turn out well, or it could go the other way. But it's just understanding that this is not just, it's not just a game, you're getting into and trying out. Like if you really want to do well, take your time. Like, there's a guy that I trained with, and he was very new to the industry, and like I could just see he had something in him. And a lot of times, like when I was doing my training, like I was booking at that point, and like some of my other like peers would, sometimes ask me questions, and I didn't mind answering any questions that he had, because I knew that he was a go-getter. And you know what? He followed my advice. He started with, I love the fact he had trained before anything. And I knew he had something in him. And like I said to him, look, go on Mandy, see if you could get any experience with shorts. You know, that's a great way to just break out and like get in there. If you can get some headshots done with, you know, if you can't afford it right now, maybe find a friend that can do it for you or someone that's affordable. But he already understood like how to do his headshots because we were in the same training class, and that's the advice that we had received from our trainer. And, you know, he ended up, I think maybe a year later or a few months later after we finished our class, getting an agent. But, you know, he was taking his time doing his research, and now he's actually taking classes with LB, which I would love to start doing soon as well. Yeah. So like he's a success story because like, I think now he's done a few shorts, and like, I know he's going to do well in this business, but you know, like, you know, it's just like, you can't just rush and say, oh, I want to be an actor and not know what you're doing, because then you're just going to set up yourself up for failure. And let me tell you, like, it wasn't smooth sailing for me all the way through. There was times that I wanted to quit, times I questioned, you know, did I make the right decision? But, you know what encourages me and pushes me to go is when like people like you reach out to me about doing something like this, or I'm getting emotional, when people tell me that like I inspire them. I never thought I would be inspiring people, Janet. Like, I started this saying I was at home, not like had no idea what I wanted to do. I was like just confused about life. And I said, okay, I'm going to pursue something that scares me, but I'm going to do it anyway. And, you know, 3 years later, I'm inspiring people to go after their dreams. And I'm not even necessarily intentionally doing it. I'm just doing it by doing the work, I guess, you know, like I know that I have a lot of work to do. You know, people might think they see that, oh, she's done a lot, but there's so much that, you know, that is required of this business. Like you asked me before, like, what surprised you? I didn't understand how important special skills were. You know, I didn't understand that can set you apart from so many other people. I didn't understand at first that it was so important to train. It took me, I think, almost a year after getting my first agent to consider training. And she, like, people kept telling me, go train. But I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to pay the money. You got to invest in yourself. You got to take that chance. And, you know, like an example I can give, last year, you see, like before we had our booking, I had started with my coach. She had a course, and I mean, the course wasn't cheap, and my friends were referring her to me, and I'm like, oh, you know, I'm not even going to bother with it. I said, you know what? I wasn't booking at the time, but I could pay for this course and learn something and not get anything out of it necessarily, or I could maybe take this course and this will help me to get booked. Let me tell you that I got booked, I think, a couple weeks after taking that course. And it was one little piece of advice she gave me that got me a booking, a commercial booking. And what she had said was, because she was just talking about her own experiences, because she's been in the industry for like 30 plus years, maybe 40, but she doesn't look. I'm not gonna give her her age. That's her daddy. But yeah, she had said when she was struggling back when she first started, she thought about what was she doing when she was booking. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, I remember when I was booking, when I was applying on Mandy, I was booking consistently. Like there was one point I was getting a booking almost every month before I got my agent. And that was because I would self-submit like for 3-4 hours sometimes the first thing in the morning when I woke up. And then I was like, you know what? Let me try self-submitting again. And, you know, of course, like I'd put it through to my agent that I was doing this, but I would start seeking jobs. And by doing that, I got a booking, and that pretty much paid for the course that I took and some.
Yeah. So
it's like, you know, just take like it, like, I don't know what I was going with this, but yeah, it's just like, you have to invest in yourself because it will pay off eventually. And that literally did pay off because, from then I learned so much from her. Yeah.
I think it's really, no, Jessica, I love it. I think it's really unique in our industry where we, the human, is the product. And so we have to invest in we, the human, in training and classes and stuff like that, where it's not like we're building cabinetry and there's the product that I'm trying to sell, away from me. So if the person doesn't like the cabinet, I can just be like, yeah, whatever. It's investing in me, the human, and me, the actor. And I think that's a really unique thing to our industry that I can imagine a lot of people struggle with, because I know I do as well. But I think that really does emphasize the need to invest in yourself, because it literally is yourself. There's nothing else. You need to invest in it.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, I think I now remember what you were asking is, I forgot what you were saying, but I think, for any advice, I would also say, if you're going to do this, I think it's good also if you have some kind of consistent income from coming in and doing that until you actually start, it's like starting a business, work your full time and then do your part time in the evening, or, do your 9 to 5 and then your 5 to 9, because I do also find sometimes, like, even for myself, when things start to take off, I decide to go full time, but it's like an entrepreneur, things are up and things are down. So I think if I was to do it again, I would have maybe worked full time longer and saved enough money for things such as training, headshots. And so I wouldn't have it wouldn't be such a burden at the time when I decided to, go full time and spend the money on those things. Because another thing is they can see the desperation in your eyes when you're doing auditions.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling financially, you cannot go into the audition with that kind of attitude. You have to go in there. What are you bringing? Not that what you want from, Yeah. So, it's just, I think I think having a stable, stability financially is definitely a good thing coming into this business. It really does help because, like I said, I've gone through it like roller coasters where I was like, did I make the right decision? I might have to take a break from acting. But I swear every time that happens, something good happens. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. I have to keep going and pursuing what I want to do. But one thing I've also stuck to, and I think has really helped me, anything that I decide to do, it has to align with acting. If it doesn't align with acting, I don't want to have any part in it. There's times people approach me about opportunities, but my eye is on the prize, and that's acting for me. There's one thing that I like. You probably I'm losing my words, but there's one thing that a quote that I like to live by is the power of saying no. And there's a lot of quotes that I'll take in a lot, and this is coming from prominent figures. I think that was like a Warren Buffett quote. Is it like you can't say yes to everything, and it's like if you're gonna say it's gonna distract you from what you want to do. You can do. There's nothing wrong with doing multiple things, but I think the key thing is having it aligned somewhat with what you're doing. Like what you're doing here is aligning with acting. It is also aligning with your other career, which is awesome. And that's what I try to aim towards doing, because if you get distracted, you're not going to be able to do what you want to do. And that's what I live by, is that I'm going to do what I want to do and what makes me happy. And I'm not going to live for others. And that's what I was doing for a very long time. And I'm no longer doing that. So it's the key thing is what makes you happy. And if it doesn't make you happy, then it's going to be hard to actually, excel at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's focusing where you want your priorities to go and not diluting it and spreading it out.
Yes.
Yeah. It's that laser focus. And I think that's where we see people succeed, especially in this career, right? Just like how we see massive loss of actors because they just don't want to put the laser focus in, or they're too scared to, or they don't realize how hard it is. So good on ya. That's exciting. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. I'm so excited for you.
Aww.
This is awesome.
Is there anything? Oh, thank you. Is there anything that you are excited about now in the coldest month of the year, February? But is there anything I know it's a slow time. Is there anything that's keeping your fire going? That's keeping you excited?
So, I just try to keep a positive outlook on things, because even though things are slow right now, it's given me an opportunity to reset. I went through a time in the summer where things were just really just go, go, go. And now I can get a chance to kind of I guess, put things together that I haven't had the opportunity to. So I'm just excited right now to get back into training when I can, and just developing my branding. There's still a few things that I need to get done, and that's gonna prepare me for when things do pick up, and I will get that reoccurring role that I'm aiming for. So it's just, I'm just excited for what's going to come. What's also, I think, keeping me going is my platform, Black Actors Canada. It's helping other people. I love the fact that I'm able to network with so many different individuals and share information, because when I first started, like I said, I didn't have that. I didn't have a network of people to necessarily work or come together and work with. So it's exciting to see what it's now becoming. So we have a lot of plans for the near future and this year. So I'm just excited for, I guess, the future and what it has to hold, because I think I'm just only scratching the surface of what's to come. I was doing some defense training. So I want to get back into that. Things kind of had to take a pause because my trainer was doing or had an operation, and with everything going on in the world, had to take we had to take a break on that. But I think there's a lot that's going to happen this spring, summer. I'm really excited for. It's just. Yeah, I guess I'm just excited for what the future holds right now for me. I know that there's going to be good things coming. And I think the more I think positively about things, more good things are happening. So I have a few things in the works. I'm just excited about I'm actually going to start doing more YouTube content.
Ooh,
because
yes, okay, good. My next question was, what would you like to promote? Is there anything?
Yes, okay.
Tell us.
So I'm going to start doing more YouTube content. So you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Jessica Myrie. And there I want to just share more about my journey. I've had a lot of people ask me about my acting experience, and it's an ongoing thing. I'll have different actors reaching out to me. So I'm like, you know what? Let me maybe do some content on a platform that I can share this to the masses, and I'm not restricted by the amount of time I have. So, and I've always wanted to do YouTube. I think I've just had that fear of doing it, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I think now I have a purpose in what I'm doing, and with acting, that's a great platform for me to now utilize.
Yeah.
And I also have a feature film coming out later this year. It was actually supposed to be a short, but then the amount of footage that they had the director turned around and spoke with the writer, and they did what they had to do and shot some additional footage, which it now is a feature, which I'm starring in.
Cool.
So I'm looking forward to the release of that.
Are you allowed to say what it's called?
They changed the title of the film. They initially was called Robin, and I'm Robin, the modern days Robin that saves the day, but things don't necessarily go as planned. They changed the name just recently, so that's why I don't remember what it's called. But I wish I could tell you, but yeah, it's going to be coming out later this year. It's going to be interesting to see. I think doing that film made me realize how difficult it could be to do a feature and the amount of sleep you don't get, because I literally, I think we shot for 2 days and I had 4 hours of sleep.
Unreal. And that's something people I don't think realize at all, right? How exhausting it is, but also you need to train just like you would to run a marathon. Because if you can't, you got to have the endurance to be able to do that. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And that's why you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't, then it's going to catch up with you, getting you never know when an audition might come and you need to perform it within 24 hours and submit. So I got the name. It's called Irreconcilable Differences.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll put that in the show notes as well too, so people can find it along with your YouTube
Thank
channel
you.
to support that. I'm so excited to see it.
Yeah,
I love seeing what you do. I love seeing what you do on your Instagram. I think you're so positive and motivating. I love it. I think it's refreshing as well too. And I love what you're doing to build community, because I think it's extraordinary. It's extremely generous of you to build this community that you are building, because we as actors who come from not a theater school background don't have community. And so to build something like that, not only just for actors, but for, Black actors in particular, BIPOC actors in particular, who have even less of a community to search for. I think that's so wonderful and important and extremely generous, because I know how busy you are. But it's paying it forward, and good on you.
Yeah, I'm really glad to do it, because it just, like I said, when I first started out in this business, the people, I don't think I'd be where I am if I didn't have people around me to help me. Yeah. And at first I didn't, but there's a lot of people that helped me by referring me to my agent, for instance, referring me to resources, just people believing in me and wanting to work with me. They've just helped me. There's one there, almost all the directors that I've worked with have helped me in one way or another. I wouldn't have got that feature if it wasn't for one of the first directors that I worked with. And he had me work on another short after. And just doing that short film allowed me to now do this feature. And, now I have this feature that I can, have footage for my reel, and just, having that experience, I wouldn't have that if it wasn't for people helping me. So it's now having the opportunity to help people who necessarily don't have those connections, and giving them a resource, there's so much more that I would love to do with what I'm doing with Black Actors Canada. But, it's one step at a time. I don't try to jump 2 steps. I try to take my time and do my due diligence and do what I need to. And it's been about a couple years now. We've built a following for about 900 followers now we hit. So, and we're growing daily, which is awesome. My goal is to eventually turn this into something that, could potentially be maybe, I don't know, casting site or creative space that people can actually come to. It's good for me. I love the fact that it coincides with my marketing and advertising background, because I do have a diploma in advertising and marketing communications. So it reminds me of that, because I'm able to do what I went to school for, but also in the acting space, because a lot of the marketing that we do, it's a lot of stuff that I sometimes come up with. I mean, I know I have my two other writers, they do it too, but I just love coming up with different marketing initiatives and ideas. And that's what I would do before. Like when I was in school, I would work on ad campaigns for different brands and stuff and do social media. And that's a lot of what I'm doing with Black Actors Canada. So I'm like, this is awesome that I'm able to use what I've learned in school, like I didn't just pay for the piece of paper and it's not being used, but I'm actually can do that. And maybe, who knows, one day it could develop into an NGO that I'm a part of running instead of just working for. So I'm just excited for what we are or have done and what we are doing with that. And it's going to be exciting to see what the future holds. I'm really, it's like my little baby that, I share with two other partners of mine, but and I mean, even though it's Black Actors Canada, like we still want everyone in different communities to come together. It's just, we wanted to create something for us, by us, but I don't want to discriminate that, that person's Black, they can't be. Anyone can be a part of our community. It's just that it's like, it's something that we've created for ourselves that we can have. And I felt like when we created it, we might have some, what's the word I'm looking for? Some, there might be, I don't know, maybe edit this up, but I just felt like ridicule, maybe because of people thinking that we are
excluding other minority groups or just any groups.
And we don't want to do that.
No, I'm just creating a space that wasn't there.
We're just creating a space that wasn't there. But I want, if we're able to even have a platform for everyone, and that's that, like, I want to help anyone. It doesn't matter what their skin color or anything. We wanted to create a space that wasn't there, because for a very long time, we weren't being represented in the industry. And I still, and even now, I even feel like as Canadians, we need to create more platforms for each other, in different communities. It could be, I think they do have a BIPOC Canada, Actors Canada or some, and, it doesn't need to just be one organization running it. I think if we're creating these little communities amongst each other and we're still united, that's going to build us up as a whole, because I think as Canadians, we're not recognized as much. Like everyone thinks, LA has all the actors, New York, there's talent here, but it's not recognized. I mean, there's a few people that may come out of there, like, that, but it's like a handful of actors that people are know. Like, you'll know more US actors than Canadian. And
absolutely.
We want to create something that people can know who different actors are, big or small, because they're accomplishing, they're making, they're accomplishing things, and people might not know about it because, they're not an A-list actor or something, So, I just hope that maybe there are more people that decide to do different platforms for, different groups or of people that, and it's not that we're doing segregation or like we're not separating people, but you could even do like I don't know, doctors, actors of Canada.
There's a doctor actor Facebook group. Yeah, again, it's like yeah, it's not, segregation, that's not the point, right? You're just trying to build space for people to be with people, you know? It's just creating community, creating strength in community. And I think, I hope you didn't get any ridicule, for God's sakes. People are garbage.
We had someone comment on a video.
You did. Oh.
You know what?
I hate the internet. The internet is the worst.
But I think if you have haters, that means you're doing something right.
That's true.
It's all love. We kept it there, and it's whatever. Like, at the end of the day, we have love for everyone. Everyone's welcome to be a part of our platform. You know, and it is what it is. Like, I just think it's you know, we're just stronger together. That's all that matters, you know. And I'm just hoping that you know, we can make some kind of change. And I think we are, you know, like I've talked to a few people that follow us, or, you know, people have reached out and they're like, they love what we're doing. And that's what we want to continue doing. And I'm hoping a lot of more people follow suit, and we can make Canada stronger as a whole, and that we're recognized in this industry more than just a handful of talent. Like, let's put ourselves on the map. There's not just certain individuals that are gonna be are gonna represent us. We need to like they like to say we're the Hollywood North, but are you just saying that because there's cheap production being done here? Let's do that. Let's say that because there is talent here that people need to see, and we're only gonna get there if we unite and like help one another.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Second Act Actors, and thank you, Jessica, for being my guest this week. And thank you again for the 100th time for teaching me everything you know about the film industry. I appreciate you so much. Everyone check out Jessica's initiative, Black Actors Canada. They can be found on Instagram at Black Actors Canada. That's where they do all of their event announcements, and they always have neat things going on, like film watch parties and stuff like that. So definitely check them out. I hope you'll join me again next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye!